Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. So you got three of those guys from that draft class, quarterbacks, all due for their extensions. Who do you think gets done first?
Man, this is a tough one. Now, Lamar's doing his without an agent, which is really interesting. So I think that one might take a little bit longer. I'm going to say Josh Allen gets done first. I think Baker is always kind of there under the surface to maybe get done. Maybe it gets pushed back. But I think Josh Allen, it wouldn't surprise me if he got done maybe this summer before they go to training camp. And then we might see Baker or Lamar get done right before the season starts. I was curious. I went back and looked, and it does happen where like Deshaun Watson signed his in September. Jared Goff's was in September right before the season. A lot of times, though, it's usually either in July or like right before that season starts when that extension gets done. With Baker, who knows? It could go into the season. It could go into next offseason. They'll extend him eventually. But I'm going to guess that Josh Allen ends up going first.
Do you think it's going to be a matter of, one moves the next contract up or that's usually a sign that the agent is kind of manipulating the terms of the contract. The agent always wants, $1 more than the next. See Francisco Lindor's contract after Tatis signed it. But do you see that, or do you think these three will kind of get done, their own way?
I don't think they could get done in a vacuum. I think the three kind of affect each other. And we saw this a few years ago with quarterbacks, whether it was rookie extensions or just, veterans getting extensions. Every next guy up was getting a little more money than the last. And so it is sort of three guys kind of staring at each other, waiting for the first one to blink. Baker's, though, is so interesting because, Lamar's got an MVP. Josh Allen was, fantastic last year. And Baker, as good as he was towards the last half of last season, he hasn't quite put together that full season yet. He doesn't have those accolades that those other guys have. So, I'm not sure how that's going to ultimately play out. But I do think it's going to be somebody's going to sign first. The next guy's going to try and beat him. And then honestly, if Baker just waits till next offseason, he might really be able to cash in because I think he's due for a really big season this year in 2021.
The other thing is, it occurs to me, it's not really Andrew Berry's style to follow the lead of somebody else. He's going to set a value that he thinks he's going to end up paying, and then he's going to go out and try to get it done. That's kind of what we've seen from him.
Yeah, I think that's how he views it, sort of that New England Patriots way of doing business. But quarterback is always a little bit different. It's not even like the Denzel Ward contract or the Myles Garrett contract when Myles was the highest paid defensive player last year for a couple of weeks before Bosa signed his extension. Quarterback is just different. And you're ultimately going to pay that. If you think you have the franchise guy, you're ultimately going to pay that market price, even if it's a little higher than you're comfortable with going, because you've got to think to yourself, what's my alternative? This is my guy. This is our franchise quarterback. Are we just going to let him walk in free agency? Are we going to franchise him like the Washington team did with Kirk Cousins? Ultimately, you kind of have to bite the bullet a little bit with the quarterback and just pay him.